Assalamu alaikum. So I don't know if you've used the restrooms here, but the water faucet is like the kind where you have to put your hand under to make it go, and I couldn't make it go, but then as soon as I sat my speech down, turned right on it. So it's going to be that way. All right. So if any of you have been to our banquets or any of our events in the past, you may have noticed that typically we sit our guests at VIP tables up towards the front. But after having done this a few times, several of those who are elected leaders have come to me and said, hey, I really enjoyed that event, but I want to meet my Muslim constituents. So pretty much every table here has an elected official sitting at it so that you have that opportunity to get to talk and get to know one another. Tonight at CAIR-Oklahoma, we're celebrating the relationships that we have forged and continue to build on. We have expanded our reach to all levels of government. So we have not only state legislators here, we have county commissioners and city council people. So it's really exciting. We actually had about 20 public servants respond to our invitation and show up tonight. I'd also like to point out that this is the first year that CAIR-Oklahoma, in our history, we've had a sitting congressional member come to one of our events. This is also the first time that we've had the mayor of Oklahoma City come to any of our events and speak to us. This success is due both to the work and continued growth of CAIR-Oklahoma's Government Affairs Department, but also the openness of the new legislature that was elected this past year in 2018. So I want you to know that the world is turning, that our work is counting, and we're making an impact, one relationship, one donation dollar, one vote at a time. The legislators, commissioners, and city council members here tonight are our closest allies and friends. They fight alongside us in their passion and commitment to diversity, equity, and justice. For minorities, and Muslim minorities in particular, friends have not always been easy to find. So we thank them tonight for their hard work, their leadership, and their courage. Let's give them a... This year, we have seen unprecedented acts of hate and terror. There have been 15 school shootings in 2019 alone. That's an average of 3 school shootings a month, almost 1 a week. In Oklahoma alone, we saw hate crimes perpetrated in places of worship, in schools, and in party headquarters. The fight for equality and equity is ongoing and universal. People of color, immigrants, refugees, women, religious minorities, LGBTQ, disabled, you name it, the disenfranchised, all of us, we must continue to fight and push back against oppression. At its heart, CAIR is a civil rights organization. And as a civil rights organization, our core mission is to stand up for the rights of those who have been left outside of power. But more than defend, we want to raise up the oppressed to power. We strive to lift the voices of the unheard, to not simply defend one person at a time, to fight one court case at a time, but to set precedents, to systemically tear down systems of oppression. It is our goal at CAIR-Oklahoma to make population-wide change. So how many of you here in this room today were at Muslim Day at the Capitol? If you'll go ahead and raise your hand. Yeah, thank you for showing up. Muslim Day at the Capitol is an important day because it challenges stereotypes. Muslim Day at the Capitol says we cannot be ignored. We are not a flat caricature of a religion that can be demonized. We belong to every class. We originate from every country, including this one. We are doctors, we are lawyers, we are teachers, we are mothers and fathers and friends and neighbors. We are constituents, and we vote. Muslim Day at the Capitol is an opportunity for us to show strength and unity. Because one of the most powerful things, and I think all of the elected officials here will confirm this, one of the most powerful things you can say at the Capitol is, "I am here." We cannot continue to look at hatred as simply a matter of individuals' hearts, as a problem that just must be approached person by person. If blatant bigotry ended today, we would still have systems that keep people and marginalized groups from access to power. Our Congresswoman Kendra Horn, who you will hear speak shortly over Iftar, said something the last time I was in a room with her that really stuck with me. She said, "We create an environment that lends itself to radicalization. When we create an environment that functions off inequity and on the backs of the poor, we are creating an environment that lends itself to hate and finger pointing. So we must look at it as a deeply entrenched system, a system that in many ways we have become desensitized to. We must constantly be educating ourselves and looking for our own blind spots." Last year, I told a story about my Mimi, and I'm going to tell it again because it still matters and it's still relevant. So my grandmother, my Mimi, she grew up in the 1930s in a small house in Missouri with no rooms and a dirt floor. She said that her and her 3 sisters and her parents, they just slept in shared beds. And they would, during the day, they would go into the field and they would pick cotton. She said that they were so poor, they didn't even notice the Great Depression. Like, they just had no idea. But she said she had some neighbors. When she was about 6 or 7, there was a black family that lived next to them. And she would often play with the 2 boys who were about her age. One day she told me she was playing in the fields, and the mother of the 2 boys came looking for them. She said to my Mimi, she said, "Have you seen my sons?" And my Mimi, not knowing any better, said, "Oh, you mean those 2 little N-word boys?" And when my Mimi was telling me this story, she said she never forgot the look on that woman's face. A look of hurt, of humiliation, of disappointment, and of pain. My Mimi said no one had ever told her what that word meant or that it was bad. But as a child, she learned very deeply that day, and she said she never said it again. I think this story is important because it teaches us 2 truths. One, that relationships change hearts. That relationships are what make us unable to dehumanize each other and to hate with a blind blanket. So someone, sure, they could have told her what that word meant and told her not to see it, and maybe it would have stuck in her head, but because she had those relationships, she learned that lesson with her heart, and she didn't make that mistake again. The story also teaches us that we have blind spots, that there are some lessons that can best be learned from each other. There are some laws and policies that we have even today that harm others simply because diversity was not at the table when those decisions were being made. Slowly, we're learning that we cannot sit in homogenous boardrooms filled with people of the same background, same education, same color of skin, same sex. We can't make policy to help a certain group of people if that demographic isn't even in the room. The elected leaders in this room here tonight know that. They recognize that. And they are here because they want us to be at that table when they are making decisions along with them. That is why today they are at your table. And I encourage you to take the opportunity to get to know them over dinner and afterwards. I'm going to close with an exercise. It's a greeting shared by the Zulu people in Africa. This greeting is an invocation in 2 parts. The first person says, "I am here to be seen." And the other part is, "I see you." The Zulu people believe that when a person says, "I am here to be seen," it invokes the person's spirit to be present. Saying, "I am here," just as we do at the Capitol, is a declaration of intent to fully inhabit this moment It signals a willingness to engage with integrity. Saying to be seen emphasizes no editing and no defenses. It means this is the real me, and I will speak my truth. It means I will be honest with you, and there will be no deception. The other person responds, I see you. I see you is a powerful experience, both for the person who says it and for the person who hears it. To say, I see you, offers an intention to release my preconceptions and judgments so that I can see you as God created you. To hear you say, I see you, is an affirmation that you do exist, that you're both equal, and that you have a person's respect. So we're going to take a moment to practice this greeting with each other. I want you to look at your neighbor. Pick a neighbor. And one of you, choose one of you, sorry. And then it all fell apart. Okay, that's enough, thank you. So I think that this greeting is really the heart of what we do. To be able to say, I am here to be seen. And then to have our elected officials here today to say, I see you. We want to thank you for being here. Thank you.